Yeah, my name is Amelia, and I'm going to be reading Sartor Resartus by Thomas Carlyle. Great work by British author, British philosopher. This is the most important work in the world, I think. So maybe you guys can give me some feedback and see what you think of it too, because it's not as widely read as it once was. This was shown to me by an art history professor that I was close to. Okay. Sartor Resartus by Thomas Carlyle. Book 1, Chapter 1, Preliminary. Considering our present advanced state of culture and how the torch of science has now been brandished and borne about with more or less effect for 5,000 years and upwards, how, in these times especially, not only the torch still burns, and perhaps more fiercely than ever, but the innumerable rushlights and sulphur matches and kindle thereat are also glancing in every direction, so that not the smallest cranny or dog hole in nature or art can remain unilluminated. It might strike the reflective mind with some surprise that hitherto little or nothing of a fundamental character, whether in the way of philosophy or history, has been written on the subject of clothes. Our theory of gravitation is as good as perfect. Lagrange, it is well known, has proved that the planetary system on this scheme will endure forever. Laplace, still more cunningly, even guesses that it could not have been made on any other scheme, whereby at least our nautical logbooks can be better kept, and water transport of all kinds has grown more commodious. Of geology and geognosy we know enough. What with the labors of our Werners and Huttons, society, the creation of a world is little more mysterious than the cooking of a dumpling, concerning which last, indeed, there have been minds to whom the question how the apples were got in presented difficulties. Why mention our disquisition on the social contract, on the standard of taste, on the migrations of the herring? Then have we not a doctrine of rent, a theory of value, philosophies of language, of history, of pottery, of apparitions, of intoxicating liquors? Man's whole life and environment have been laid open and elucidated, scarcely a fragment of fiber of his soul, body, and possessions, but all has been probed and dissected, distilled, desiccated, and scientifically decomposed. Our spiritual faculties, of which it appears there are not a few, have their stewards, cousins, Royer, Collards, every cellular, vascular, muscular tissue, glories, and Lawrences, Mahendis, Bichas. How, then, comes it? May the reflective mind repeat that the grand tissue of all tissues, the only real tissue, should have been quite overlooked by science, the vestural tissue, namely of woolen or other cloth, which man's soul wears as its outmost wrappage and overall, wherein his whole other tissues are included and screened, his whole faculties work, his whole self lives, moves, and has its being. For, if now and then some straggling, broken-winged thinker has cast an owl's glance into this obscure region, the most have soared over it altogether heedless. Regarding clothes as property, not an accident, as quite natural and spontaneous, like the leaves of trees, like the plumage of birds, in all speculation they have tacitly figured man as a clothed animal, whereas he is by nature a naked animal, and only in certain circumstances, by purpose and device, masks himself in clothes. Shakespeare says, "We are creatures that look before and after. The more surprising that we do not look round a little and see what is passing under our very eyes." But here, as in so many other cases, Germany, learned, indefatigable, deep-thinking Germany, comes to our aid. It is, after all, a blessing that in these revolutionary times there should be one country where abstract thought can still take shelter, that while the din and frenzy of Catholic emancipations and rotten boroughs and revolts of Paris deafen every French and English ear, the German can stand peaceful on his scientific watchtower, and, to the raging, struggling multitude here and elsewhere, solemnly from hour to hour with preparatory blast of cowhorn, emit his Ore Ehren und lasset's euch sagen. In other words, tell the universe, which so often forgets that fact, what o'clock it really is. Not unfrequently the Germans have been blamed for unprofitable diligence, as if they had struck into devious courses where nothing was to be had but the toil of a rough journey, as if forsaking the gold mines of finance and that was to be had but the toil of a rough journey. Or wait, sorry. forsaking the gold mines of finance and that political slaughter of fat oxen whereby a man himself grows fat. They were apt to run goose hunting into regions of bilberries and crowberries, and be swallowed up at last in remote peat bogs. Of that unwise science, which, as our humorist expresses it, by geometric scale doth take the size of pots of ale. Still more, of that altogether misdirected industry, which is seen vigorously thrashing mere straw, there can be nothing defensive be said. In so far as the Germans are chargeable with such, let them take the consequence. Nevertheless, be it remarked that even a Russian steppe has tumult and gold ornaments. Also, many a scene that looks desert and rockbound from the distance will unfold itself when visited into rare valleys. Nay, in any case, would criticism erect not only finger posts and turnpikes, but spiked gates and impassable barriers for the mind of man. It is written, many shall run to and fro, and knowledge shall be increased. Surely the plain rule is, let each considerate person have his way, and see what it will lead to. For not this man and that man, but all men make up mankind, and their united task the task of mankind. How often have we seen some such adventurous and perhaps much censured wanderer light on some outlying, neglected, yet vitally momentous province, the hidden treasures of which he first discovered and kept proclaiming till the general eye and effort were directed thither, and the conquest was completed. Thereby, in these, his seemingly so aimless rambles, planting new standards, founding new habitable colonies, in the immeasurable circumambient realm of nothingness and night. Wise man was he who counselled that speculation should have free course, and looked fearlessly towards all the 32 points of the compass, whithersoever and howsoever it listed. Perhaps it is proof of the stunted condition in which pure science, especially pure moral science, languishes among us English, and how our mercantile greatness and invaluable constitution, impressing a political or other immediately practical tendency on all English culture and endeavor, cramps the free flight of thought. That is, not philosophy of clothes, but recognition that we have no such philosophy, stands here, for the first time, published in our language. What English intellect could have chosen such a topic, or by chance stumbled upon it? But for that same unshackled and even sequestered condition of the German learned, which permits and induces them to fish in all manner of waters with all manner of nets, it seems probable enough this abstruse inquiry might, in spite of the results it leads to, have continued dormant for indefinite periods. The editor of these sheets, though otherwise boasting himself of a man of confirmed speculative habits, and perhaps discursive enough, is free to confess that never, till these last months, did the above very plain considerations on our total want of a philosophy of clothes occur to him. And then, by quite foreign suggestion, by the arrival, namely, of a book from Professor Teufelsdrockh of Weisnichtwo, treating expressly of the subject, and in a style which, whether understood or not, could not even by the blindest be overlooked. In the present editor's way of thought, this remarkable treatise with its doctrines, whether as judicially acceded to or judicially denied, has not remained without effect. Die Kleider, ihr Werden und Wirken, clothes, their origin and influence, von Dieu. Teufelsdrockh, J.U.D., etc., Stillschweigen and Cognier, Weisnichtwo, 1831. Here, says the Weisnichtwo's Angier, comes a volume of that extensive, close-printed, close-meditated sort, which, be it spoken with pride, is seen only in Germany, perhaps only in Weisnichtwo, issuing from the hitherto irreproachable firm of Stillschweigen and Company. With every external furtherance, it is of such internal quality as to set neglect at defiance. A work, concludes the well-nigh enthusiastic reviewer, interesting alike to the antiquary, the historian, and the philosophic thinker, a masterpiece of boldness, lynx-eyed acuteness, and rugged independent Germanism and philanthropy, Der Kerndeutschheit und Münchenliebe, which will not, assuredly, pass current without opposition in high places, but must and will exalt the almost new name of Teufelsdrockh to the first ranks of philosophy in our German temple of honor. Mindful of old friendship, this distinguished professor, in this the first blaze of his fame, which, however, does not dazzle him, sends hither a presentation copy of his book, with compliments and encomiums which modesty forbids the present editor to rehearse, yet without indicated wish or hope of any kind, except what may be implied in the concluding phrase, this remarkable treatise. It's in German. It's möchte es auch im britischen Boden gedeihen. Gedeihen. Are there any viewers? 2 viewers. Do you guys have any questions? Here, let me stop recording.